All right, intro's up.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When send past the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally got some real Knicks news to talk about because Evan Fournier, he spoke out a little bit, voiced his displeasure and not getting any playing time with the Knicks this past season. You know, I mean, let's put it like this. Evan Fournier's always been pretty candid, and I think he was candid in this interview that he did. I got my man Andy in the building, of course. He was coming through to talk about Evan Fournier. You know what I mean? Andy, what's poppin' with you, brother? How you feeling?
What up, Sim? Happy to be on with you. A long time no see. As we talked before, we came on. It was a busy time for me and for you, like you said. Listen. We all know on NBK that I'm the Evan Fournier attorney, lawyer, defendant, fan club president,
whatever you want to call
whoever
it,
you
right?
want to tag me, name me, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it. Listen. Fournier, like you said, mentioned a couple of stuff that he wasn't happy about while being on the Knicks. Is he gonna be, and for how long he's gonna be a Knick? We're gonna see.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's hoping. Listen, he was candid, and I think he wants to be off the Knicks. Who wouldn't? Why wouldn't he? I don't blame him. I'd want to be off the Knicks too. You know what I mean? If I'm not playing, why keep me?
Yeah, and Sim, some fans are gonna say that, listen, Evan Fournier is still getting paid huge, money for just being a bench guy. Just take the money and sit on the bench. Listen, if he's gonna sit out this season, not only for his sake and his basketball confidence and stuff like that, this might be just the last chance for him to get another NBA contract.
Exactly.
I don't think and at least for a certain amount of money. Listen, if he would get a couple of minutes here and there or get traded, he's probably going to have, several minutes playing in the NBA. Meanwhile, if we just let him sit on the bench throughout this whole season, the next stop might be Europe for him.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And listen, he's in the prime of his career. He's proved that he can be a contributor on a playoff team, which he was when he was in Orlando. You know what I mean? I would hate, if I was him, I would hate to spend, knowing that I'm a guy that has participated on playoff teams, to spend a portion of my prime on the bench not playing at all. You know what I mean? But this is what Evan Fournier had to say in this interview, ladies and gentlemen. And I will link the interview in the description of this video. All right. He said on how he managed last season, he said, I practiced like it was the off season. I ran a lot. I tried to progress. I've never been so strong, but that doesn't necessarily transfer to your feelings and your game. I need to find my rhythm playing one-on-one, then against the competition. When I realized that I was no longer going to play, I radically changed my way of working. All right. Then he goes on to say, and speaking about how he remained prepared, he said, I was able to enjoy my wife, my children, the environment in New York. No naps. I could drop my son off at school, pick him up. When I play, I'm very strict. During the games, I had a reduced warm-up, had a cold bath. I didn't even attend the playing of the anthem. You know, I didn't know that. I never even realized that, Andy, that he wasn't out there during the anthem. Most of the time when I watch the game, you don't really get to see the bench during the anthem anyway, but never realized he wasn't out there during the anthem. He said, I was waiting for the game to start, then I'd go to the bench. Now, I guess it backfired a little bit. He said there was a time against Philadelphia on February 6th. Jalen Brunson was injured. RJ Barrett arrived in the locker room sweating, told me he was going to vomit. He was not in good shape. I'm like, oh, I'm going to play. I hadn't done my team warm-up. The game was on ESPN, and I wasn't feeling well. He said it ended well, but it was not easy to manage. I said, that's a little bit of what he was going through, right? Sitting on the bench, trying to stay prepared, and trying to keep his mind right. You know what I mean? So spending time with my family so I can keep my mind right, but also, I got to figure out a way to stay prepared just in case I play. But as he mentioned earlier, staying prepared, doing those things didn't take away from the feelings. Now, there's a couple of rough words here, Andy. He said, you want to spit on everyone. That's rough. All right? That's tough. I don't know, when you're from different countries and different places, your vernacular is a little bit different. So maybe spit doesn't mean the same thing. But
yeah, I think the translation here was a little bit lost. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe the translation's a little bit lost because he said, you want to spit on everyone, you have hatred. I mean, still, if it was being translated from French to English, it could have been the translation is maybe a little bit lost in the way that, in what he was trying to say, right? He said, Derrick Rose and I looked at each other and said to each other, what the hell are we doing here? During 5-on-5 practice, we were on the side like some prospects, uncool times. And when I realized that wouldn't change, I took things more slowly. I focused on myself and didn't let the rest get to me anymore. I did 3 cardio sessions, 2 weight training sessions per week, a lot of travel work, analyzing game situations with an assistant coach, Daniel Brady. Just your thoughts on that right there, Andy, because this is where, you really start to get to the meat and potatoes of what he's saying.
Yeah, like I said, definitely lost in translation. I don't think also the bit which is the most interesting one for me is like me and Derek or something like that looked at each other and we were thinking, that what we are doing here. I don't think D Rose put his displeasure out like that. Mm-hmm. It'd rather be like we looked at each other and thought to ourselves, what are we doing here? I don't think, those words came out of Derrick Rose's mouth. Though, what we got to realize is Derrick Rose rode the bench as long as Evan Fournier throughout the whole season. But right. Derrick Rose is now currently in another team, and it looks like he's going to get playing time there. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Evan Fournier is still stuck on the Knicks with no perspective of getting minutes. Right. That's why his frustration is like, listen, it's now or never. Because D Rose has an opportunity. If I'm going to, be quiet and stick around, definitely I'm going to get paid. But, he had a longer contract than D Rose, right? So right. This wasn't the situation. But for sure, like he says later in the interview, he's thinking that he's getting paid $18 million, and it's the better situation for both sides, for him and for the Knicks, to make a move.
Yeah.
For him, of course, it would be like literally any situation is going to be better than the Knicks because it's going to be a, new opportunity for him. Mm-hmm. Then again, the Knicks might feel like, listen, we're going to use him just strictly as the salary number as he's on the payroll, right? And I think that's a, huge thing for Evan because he's going to be basically held hostage on the Knicks.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned before, his career is not going to develop. And it's not like, we're expecting him to, do anything, superior or better on the court, right? But listen, not playing the whole season and not playing the second season is going to be hard for him to get back on that floor and knock off the rust and stuff like that. Players have problems with that after 2 weeks of absence. Imagine after 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's definitely I think that maybe, of course, for the Knicks, it would be better to make a move now. But at least you have to connect and contact him, tell him what's the plan, so these things wouldn't get out. I think that's also a little bit part of all the Knicks that they didn't contact him. They didn't say, listen, we're trying, because if he knew that they were trying, he probably wouldn't mention anything like this. And if a deal was closed, they would notify him, listen, Evan, we got this deal in place, maybe this deal in place. We just gotta see we gotta make, wait for the Lillard trade, the Embiid trade, the Harden trade to go through, because we might involve you somewhere there, right?
Right.
And like I said, I think he would be happy going anywhere around the NBA instead of just, being on the bench with the Knicks. And basically, the other option that he has, Sim, actually, he can, try to get that buyout. But I'm not thinking that, getting that buyout is a thing that the Knicks are interested in, because it's going to still hit their salary cap.
Yeah.
So that's a win only for him. And he's not going to give up that much money on that buyout, because he knows that, James Dolan is going to be, asking for Evan to get money off. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, at this current point, if they don't move him, he's literally going to be, hold hostage on the Knicks.
Yeah, the buyout doesn't help the Knicks at all, to be honest with you. So I can't see the Knicks doing a buyout. It just does not help the Knicks.
Yeah, in any aspect.
Because they had the ability to use his contract all the way up until the trade deadline as a bargaining chip. Now, after the trade deadline, then you could see where maybe I don't even know if it would be worth it after the trade deadline, because I believe the Knicks have they have a player option. Am I correct? Or is it they have a team option?
They have a team option.
They have a team option, right?
Yeah. So for them, it's like for at least for Fournier, if they can't make a move after the deadline, it's like an expiring contract. So if you can't make the move, it's basically useless.
Yeah, the only thing, they could do after the trade deadline, they could go ahead and buy him out so that he can sign with a playoff team or something like that for the remainder of the season. They could do that. You know what I mean? But Fournier wasn't finished, ladies and gentlemen. He had more to say. When he was asked about his relationship with Tibbs, he said, I have nothing to say because I have none. Talking about his relationship with Tom Thibodeau. When he took me out of the 5, he just told me he was going to try something else. Then at the first match of a road trip, he announced to me that I was leaving the rotation and ciao. That was it. He was done. Didn't see him anymore. Right? How do you feel about that? I mean,
well, let me say this part.
In my opinion, okay, so they had the discussion. He's taking him out of the starting 5. All right, he made the decision to take him out of the rotation. I think as long as you're communicating with the player, I mean, that's what the coach has the right to make those decisions. You know what I'm saying? As long as you communicate and say, hey, I feel like we're better without you in the rotation or whatever. You don't got to say it that way, but I'm making this lineup change. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I don't even know if it doesn't even sound like he told him to stay ready. You know what I'm saying? It was just, ciao, peace, you're out of there.
Yeah, and Sim, I think that Fournier doesn't have the bad feelings about that he got benched. I think he understood that if he's not being used correctly, listen, he got benched, right? But like you said, and like I said before, maybe if he came every week or two and just say, listen, Evan, look how we're doing well now. I don't see in the near future that there's going to be a possibility for you unless an injury happens and stuff like that. So he can like he said as well, change his regime training and stuff like that, right? and then it's a kind of fair situation. But if you just left the guy out there and you're not, keeping him in the loop about the plans of for him, for the team and stuff like that, it's like you can do, you shouldn't even do it for the 15th man, right? For a rookie, for a sophomore. I think Trevor Keels even knew that, listen, we're going to send you to the Westchester Knicks. We're going to move you here. We're going to be, going to be practicing with this team, that team, because, we're going to get better and stuff like that. And I think, like I said before, he's a 14-year vet, right? It's kind of a little bit disrespectful, if you ask me, that you don't have the audacity just to tell the guy straight up as a man-to-man, listen, you ain't going to be getting playing time. We moved this, different way. And just, that the communication is, straight up to your face, right? It's not like you don't know what's going to happen and stuff like that. And I think, listen, just going back to it, we know that Tibbs sometimes has problems with communication, right? A couple of years back, no one was thinking that Taj Gibson isn't going to resign with the Knicks when he went to the Wizards.
Right.
He was like, that's a Tibbs guy. He's going to play for free for Tibbs. He was, after Tibbs, each and every team and stuff like that. Taj bounced. He left the Knicks, on ice, and he went to the Wizards. And I don't think that, that was the situation, but Taj was looking out for himself. He was like, listen, if they got planned Julius and Obi, and I'm the third, power forward on this roster, I ain't going to be sticking around here for this.
Right.
And he was in a worse position as far as career-wise than Fournier is right now, right? So he was literally a vet back then. And Fournier still has, like prime time before him. Maybe not before him, but he, at least at this time, he's still in his prime, right? So that's a bigger loss for Fournier, if you ask me, than even for Taj.
Oh, definitely.
And like I said, we don't know what was the situation with D-Rose, because everyone is blaming, Fournier or Tibbs and stuff like that. But we don't know what were the feelings for D-Rose. They moved him, and it's not going to come out now. But if he would be stuck with the Knicks throughout this offseason and sitting the bench till the trade deadline, he might be like, listen, this is my last chance to get minutes in the NBA. So he might have been, a little bit triggered as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it sounds here that, to me, it sounds like Tom Thibodeau did communicate it with him. I don't know if it was exactly these words, but, he told him, hey, we're going to try something else. And then he told him, I'm taking you out the lineup. It wasn't like he just didn't play him and that was it. You know what I'm saying? He, from here, it says he told him, hey, I'm taking you out the lineup. I mean,
but
go ahead.
Yeah, but for me, Sim, is like, listen, imagine being on a roster with 15 people, right? And your coach plays like 10, right? And you're in the bottom 5, and you just, going to practices, getting the dress, getting the jerseys ready, the everything, and you never know if you're gonna get minutes. Even if he came in and like said, listen, we're on a good roll, you guys just stay ready and keep ready. Maybe in the next couple of games, or injury happens, and that would be information for those guys that you gotta see. It looks like Tibbs said, listen, you guys sitting in the end of in the plane, and you don't even have to listen to the to the strategies and the tactics, because it sounds like me for me like that there was literally none. After that, there was non-communication, and I think even the last guys on the roster deserve to have at least some input on the team, right? And I'm not saying minutes. I'm saying just getting involved in team, stuff and stuff like that. But it sounds like, he felt kind of other way.
Alienated.
At least Fournier did, right?
Kind of felt alienated because he said, you're leaving the rotation and then ciao. So, I mean, and it could be that way. You know what I'm saying? He told him, hey, you're out the rotation. And then after that, there was like, communication cut off, and it could be. And, the thing is, like me, when I look at the season, I'm not like, oh, Fournier should have been out there. When Tom Thibodeau decided to make his rotation changes, the Knicks started playing better. They started winning basketball. So it's hard to argue with the rotation changes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that I agree with.
You know, it's hard to argue with it. On playing for the Knicks next season, Fournier said, I would be very surprised to be a Knick next year. They pay me $18 million. They have no interest in keeping me. If you want to trade me with a good return, why didn't you use me? I was coming out of a season where I was the fourth best three-point shooter in the league. Why not take advantage of it? Now, they won't get anything interesting, and that's normal because I couldn't show anything on the court. I understand what he's saying. I get that. But if your team got better when you came out, and I'm talking about any player, you know, it's hard to say, well, you know, you should have played me if you want a better return because the team got better. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, how do you manage that?
Well, Sim, if you ask half of the, maybe even more than half of the NBA players in the interview, who's the best player, you know, you think, and stuff like that, half of those guys are going to say me. Mm-hmm. So they got the ego, they got the fight in them. They think that they're one of the best guys and they want to show it out, right? And I think this is his competitive nature. He wanted to, you know, prove something, even if it's not for the team, it was for himself and for maybe other teams around and stuff like that. He didn't get the opportunity. And I'm not saying that it should be handed to him or anything like that. But there were games in the regular season and definitely in the playoffs that the Knicks were hurting because they couldn't score. And, you know, if he had the info from Tibbs, listen, we can't score, we're going to need you in the second half or stuff like that. So something like that, anything like that, right? Because I think basically, you know how I feel. I think that he was misused even before he got, you know, benched. So that's my thing. But, you know, if he's not going to be used like that, I think, you know, that's a smart move as far as the team goes in the organization. But, you know, since he's a vet, he knows his way around the league. He knows how this works. I think he was still, you know, deep down expecting, oh, maybe he's going to use me in the second half or something like that because these guys can make a three. And I'm literally last season, I was the record holder, right? The fourth best player in the whole NBA. Right. And now I'm just benched like, you know, like nothing happened. So I'm kind of, you know, thinking, and I'm not like I'm picking a side, right? Because like you said, the results were there. So it's hard to argue from that standpoint. But still, you think the results would be way worse if the Knicks were in a losing situation, losing game, you know, down several points that they couldn't score. If he just plugged them in like 3, 4, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there and stuff like that, I don't think that would change the Knicks record. Like we would dip and lose 10 more games, right?
I get you. Blue Hefner said, Sim is acting like the Knicks became world beaters when Fournier sat. It was not that big of a change. And, you know, I'm not blaming this on Fournier or Rose. I'm not blaming this at all. But if you go back to December the 1st and look at the Knicks record from December the 1st until the end of the season, the Knicks were a top 5 or 6 team in the league when they were below 500 before then. And I'll just leave it at that. You know what I mean? I do believe the Knicks could have used Evan Fournier in the playoffs. I wanted the Knicks to try Evan Fournier in the playoffs because the shooting was so bad and they needed someone to be able to spread the floor or you know, take some pressure off of that defense that was packing the paint because the Knicks could not shoot. I was like, you might as well give Fournier a try. You know what I'm saying? Because we had nothing else. Might as well have gave him a try. And I just felt like they could have and should have given him a try in the playoffs. Now, I know after not playing for so long, a guy, you know, maybe he's not ready, maybe his body, whatever, this and that. But the Knicks needed to take some kind of chance at that point. You know, put him out there. If he gets hot, good. If he doesn't, all right, well, we're going to take you out. No one's saying start him. But he could have played in the playoffs, I think. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and Sim, just to dig down a little bit deeper on this communication thing, uh, Tibbs just being on the Knicks, right? He had a couple of conflicts already. He handled, you could say that the Kemba situation could have been handled differently.
You could. I
The
mean,
Obi situation, Obi wasn't happy and stuff like that, and he was even getting playing time. And I'm not saying that these guys deserved anything for free, right?
mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it looks like Tibbs is the problem, is the third guy. And I'm not mentioning here Austin Rivers, which also had, beef with him. And there's several players that after a couple of years only, looks like they had a problem with Tibbs. And I understand the other team, the other players on the team, which get minutes, like Julius, like Brunson, they're going to be happy with this situation, because even if they play badly, it's hard for them to get benched to reduce minutes and stuff like that. But, after you lose your spot, it looks like he totally forgets about you.
Now, I will
And
say that, if you're not in a rotation, you're not in a rotation. But I feel like that's the coach's job to make a decision who's going to play and who's
yeah,
not going to play. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I'm true.
Yeah, and the guys that don't play aren't going to be happy. And if you're a guy who has been averaging 28 minutes per game in your career, and then all of a sudden you're getting none, you're not gonna be happy about it. You know what I mean? I think everything has to point to the result to the team, and I guess that's the biggest argument you have for Tibbs in this situation, is that the team made the playoffs, so on and so forth, right? Advanced to the second round. That's the biggest argument that you have for Tibbs in this situation, because of the results. If the results were different, then I think the argument would be different. You know what I mean? But I think on every team, you're going to have guys that are like,
Yeah, it's clear for
coach
me
don't
that
like
you
me.
can't make everyone happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from this, information that came out of the Lake Whip with this interview, it looks like he didn't even try to make him happy, or the management didn't try to trade him. Because if he had that information, listen, you're on the trading block, we're calling literally every team, and his agent knew that. His agent would kind of keep him motivated and stuff like that, right? If you're gonna have those informations and stuff like that, I think you handle it totally different. Then you're like stagnant, you never know what's gonna happen. And it's not like he didn't look for a trade, right? Like he himself would probably rather have been traded than get stuck on the bench like that.
Right.
And like I'm saying, Sim, I agree totally with you. It's the coaches job to get the results for the team. And sometimes it's going to require getting guys bench and stuff like that. But you still need to keep the morale as the motivation of the players high on the team, because it can affect the rest of the team. And I think what we saw throughout the season, we didn't see anything Fournier did bad.
Mm-mm.
He didn't leak out any information. He didn't show that he was frustrated. He didn't show that he was pissed. Meanwhile, deep down, he probably was. But he kept it professional, just as Derrick Rose and stuff like that. But no, this is the off season. Like I said, if you got traded on trade deadline, first days on the free agency and stuff like that, we would never hear anything like this.
Right.
Meanwhile, he's still, probably
Yeah.
thinks that he's stuck in this situation, and if he doesn't try to do anything, it's going to be like that. So
Yeah. I mean, but that's part of the front office, right? It's got to make those moves, but they also have to make sure that it's right for the team too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which makes it a sticky situation. Knicks are nice. Said Leon is trading all the players Tibbs don't like. It's a pattern now. I mean, that's kind of what you do when you have a coach.
Yeah.
When you have a coach, you give the coach the players that they want. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how how do you fire a coach if you haven't given the coach all of the tools?
Yeah, but let's
know?
remember that they also got Kemba and Fournier when Tibbs was after his first year of coaching. So unless he signed off of it, that was a stupid management move to get two players to the starting lineup that he wouldn't use.
Right.
So.
Now, here's the thing. I believe that he did. I think he signed off on. I read somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but I read somewhere that Evan Fournier was a guy that Tibbs actually wanted to bring in.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe when he brought him in, he said, okay, this isn't what I thought. I don't know.
But Wilson, what we got to realize is the role of the player, right? Season before, he got the Knicks record broke for the 3-point shooting, right? He was used totally different than even the 10 games at the beginning of the season.
Right.
That's why, and that's what also because the roster changed, he got another piece in Jalen Brunson, and those guys just didn't mesh. But it might have been a situation that they didn't know that Jalen is going to be an opportunity. That's why they signed Fournier, or they were thinking, listen, Jalen with Fournier, that's going to be a combo of guards that we're going to be able to play with. Meanwhile, it looks like that it literally didn't mesh well. That's why, they bounced Fournier off of the rotation.
And that's also because Jalen Brunson has a few limitations defensively. There were already concerns before the season began. What about Jalen Brunson and Evan Fournier in the backcourt? How's that going to work?
Right.
You know what I mean? There were already some questions on it.
Yeah, that was the same thing that we had with Kemba, right?
Yep.
Two bad defenders on the perimeter.
Yep.
And that time, Kemba got benched. But it also could be, Fournier.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. On what happens if he is with the Knicks next season, he said, I would be shocked. I don't know what that means. He said, I'm going to be traded. It's not possible otherwise. Or I'd be stuck. And so will they. They have several players with big contracts coming in. I'm assuming he's talking about R.J. Barrett, right? Because his extension begins next season. I don't know who else he's talking about when he says that. Must be Dante DiVincenzo. Must be talking about his contract. Unless they want to pay crazy luxury tax, if I stayed, it would be a disaster basketball-wise for my career. Well, hold up. Let me say that correctly. He said, unless they want to pay crazy luxury tax. Right? Talking about the players with the big contracts. And then he says, if I stayed, it would be a disaster basketball-wise for my career. I can manage a year without playing. 2, that would be terrible. And, I agree with him. It would be terrible. And I do think it would be smart for the front office to try to make a move, to move Evan Fournier if they can before the season begins. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be better for the culture of the basketball team. It's going to be better for Evan Fournier's career. And I know, some people will say, well, it's not up to the team to worry about his career, but it is. Part of it is. You know what I'm saying? When you're in the NBA, it's like a big brotherhood. You know what I mean? And you want to have a reputation of a team that's going to, listen, if a player doesn't fit, they don't fit, whatever it is. But we're going to try to take care of you. We're going to try to help you get into a good position. You know what I'm saying? We're going to try to help make sure that you still can progress in your career.
And Sim, one, funny fact that I didn't see Twitter, still mention, anyone on Twitter and Twitter as a whole, is that the management might be thinking a step ahead of the whole Knicks fan base. They didn't play him. They know that Fournier's value is low. But next week, the FIBA games start. Fournier is on that French national team.
Yep.
He's going to be probably starting for that team. They're like, listen, his worth can only go up. So we're going to wait after the FIBA games so the other GMs see him, see how he plays, and maybe we're going to get at least a, second round pick more or something like that, right?
Right.
Because he's going to gain value.
Right.
And that might be the thing that none of us Knicks fans think about, that the management already saw the schedule. They know that his value is low now. We can't get a good deal. but maybe after the FIBA games.
Yeah.
So they're going to be looking for a trade, maybe like, around the August 15th or something like that. So it's going to be before camp. Still going to be time, unless, they're just going to be working as a third, fourth team in one of these, big trades happening because of just the salary number. So
yeah. I got my man Tony Crow on the line. I'm gonna get him in just a second. I want to read this last paragraph. Actually, no, we'll get Tony in now, and then we'll take a look at the last paragraph as we take a look at where some good landing spots for Evan Fournier. My man Tony, what's poppin' with you, brother? How you feeling?
What's good, Sim? What's good, Andy? Shout out to the chat. Your Blackest Time.
Yes, sir.
How long you been on?
We've been on for about 40 minutes.
How long you gonna be on?
I'll probably be on for another half hour or so.
All right, I'm gonna jump in right after this call for a couple minutes.
Okay, all right, we can do that. We'll try to figure it out on the screen. So if I don't pull you in right away, give me a minute because we got to figure it out on the screen.
Yeah, take your time. No rush. But nice to be on. What's good with you guys, man?
Good, man.
I think this is damaging.
Damaging
this is damaging.
The Knicks?
Yeah, I think it's like another black guy in a sense. I have no problem with what Fournier said.
Mm-hmm.
From his side of view, his perspective, he's got to look out for himself. I agree. There's 2 years without playing. You know what I mean? That's detrimental to him moving forward. You know what I mean? What kind of contract he gets offered moving forward,
right?
And things of that nature. And the guy's a hooper. You know what I mean? So it's not like he don't want to play. That's the thing. He wants to play.
Right.
So I have no issues, with what he's saying. But I think the timing of it, it being here in New York, you know what I mean? Everything is under a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help, with the survey or whatever it was that came out talking about players wanting to play for Tibbs,
right,
and things of that nature.
Right.
So I think it's I just think it's real unfortunate because we're in a good spot, but being in New York and being the way our fan base is and everything is the headline, I just think it could be another black guy for the organization.
Yeah.
Because no matter how you look at it, it's a mistake, right? A mistake that they made that now they got to correct.
Yeah. Let me ask, do you think this makes other players say, look how they treat their players in New York? Because I feel like some of it, they're going to point to Cam Reddish,
Mm-hmm.
right? And, of course, that was a huge mistake. You know what I mean? They're going to point to Obi. And then now they're going to look at Evan Fournier, right? Is this going to make players say, I don't like what they're doing in New York. I don't like the way they treat their players.
I think this is what I would say. If you're looking from the outside and you have no relationship with CAA or Kentucky or whatever, you know what I mean? If you have no inside relationship with anybody within that organization, right? Or Tibbs in particular, or Leon in particular, and you're just looking from the outside, yes, 100%. It could reflect negatively. Like that's what I mean when I say the black guy. Right. I also believe if you have the relationship, or you go and let's say you take the interview, even though you have the doubts, I believe that both Tibbs and Leon could potentially change your perspective with context of the situation. You know what I mean? But if you're not looking with context, then it looks bad.
Yeah.
Some people, because it's all types of arguments going around. It was play the young guys. He got benched in favor of young guys,
mm-hmm.
whether it be Cam Reddish, whether it be Quentin Grimes. So he got, you know what I mean? They were looking in the future direction as opposed to stagnant. But But there's also that argument of, you know, Tibbs should have figured out some type of usage for him, like Andy said earlier. You know what I mean? He could have used them in stretches, or conveyed his message or conveyed the situation better to Fournier.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think that's also been an argument of, you know, once you're out, and then you don't even know how to get back in, if you could get back in.
Yeah,
Where,
I mean,
you know what I mean?
here's also a thing, right? If you, I mean, because what we're saying is right. If you're out, you're out. And I can recall an interview when Evan Fournier first came to the Knicks, where he said, "With Tibbs, you know where you stand. You know when you're coming into the game. You know, like you know how many minutes you're gonna get. Like you know these things. I mean, you know, so I guess it works both ways. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. And even a guy like Rose, who has more of a relationship with Tibbs, right?
Yeah.
I think it would be more damning if things like this came out from Derrick Rose. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, even in his time here, when Rose clearly expressed that he wanted to play, he also gave the other side, in which, hey, Deuce McBride's working his butt off in practice out here, and has those young legs, and you know what I mean, is basically bringing some things that I can't bring. So, you know what I mean? So I think that it also goes down to the player having to have that context and that perspective of, yeah, I want to play, but I see why I don't.
Right.
I don't know if Fournier sees why he doesn't play.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I get it. I get it. And there's gonna be a lot of players that don't see why they're not playing. You know what I mean? Clovins Duras, he said, if you don't like to play a player, you find a way to build his trade value, then trade him. Right? This league is about relationships. My thing is this: if you don't like a player and you want to trade this player, or if you as a coach feel like this player is not helping your team, do you play him in lieu of that player not helping your team? Or at least you feel like that player is not helping your team, so you play that player to build their trade value, even though you feel like your team may suffer. I don't think you do that. You know what I mean? I think what you try to do is maybe you figure out another way for this guy not to, you know, maybe there's I don't know. You know, maybe you try to smooth it over. You know, you don't want teams thinking that this guy's done. I can get that. Maybe there's something else that you figure out as to why this guy isn't playing. I don't know. Or you know, but I don't think you play a guy, you know, if you're a team that's doesn't have a winning record, you know, you don't think you're going to make the playoffs, then I can understand you playing a guy because you want to, you know, build up the trade value or whatever it is. But when you're in a playoff battle, or you think you have a chance to make the playoffs, you don't do that, in my opinion. You know what I mean? You know, you just play to win. It's definitely a tough situation, man. You know, without a doubt.
Hey Sim, I'm rebooting my computer, so it may take a second.
Okay.
But real quick, let's not forget there was a time when Fournier expressed how he didn't want to get traded because of the birth of his child and things of that nature, where you don't even know. I mean, that could have been a time frame in which his value was higher. You know what I mean? There may have been a team that had interest, and maybe the Knicks, you know, didn't want to uproot him and did him a favor in that sense. So that's I'm just giving a little bit of pushback into. I have no problem with what Fournier said, but the timing of it, you know what I mean? The timing of it, to me, it's like you just kind of putting pressure on the organization.
Yeah.
And I would hate for them. I would much rather them do a parallel move, contract for contract, somebody who is in a similar situation that maybe wasn't playing, as opposed to having to attach an asset to move him or move him at this point because of, you know, the controversy he could stir up.
Right. I mean, you know, I think the front office is probably looking to, you know, figure out a way to attach him anything that happens with Dame or James Harden to see if they can get in on that. You know what I mean? But yeah, Tony, yeah, when you're free, when you're ready, jump on in.
All right, I got you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And Sim, if I can just wrap up this Fournier and this no playing time. Listen, I think him as a vet, and when he was getting signed by the Knicks, we knew what kind of player Evan Fournier is.
Right.
So
Right.
fans or the management or the coach blaming it on his defense means like they did do their homework before, right? Because we paid him for a certain skill set, which we knew because he was a vet in this league. It's not like he was a second, third year player that he could develop defense or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was a done product at that point that we were signing him. So he was like that. That's why he probably accepted the deal, not only about the money, but they know what they're getting from me, right? So they probably have a position for me or a spot for me for that certain skill set.
Right.
And it wasn't like that we got a better shooter and I'm getting benched, right? They put out something, maybe when they were signing the contract, there was a certain, scheme, tactic presented to him. And he was like, listen, that's the perfect place for me. I'm going to fit there smoothly. Like we said, and like we were thinking that, maybe players are going to get afraid of that. If you're a clear-cut starting five on the Knicks roster and you sign with the Knicks, I don't think first, second year you're going to get blamed or you're going to get totally out of the rotation. Fournier got out of the rotation in his third season because things happened and they made other moves that caused his skill set to be in that time, useless or replaceable by other skill sets, right? So, for example, the Dante DiVincenzo signing, Fournier might be like, listen, they got a guy, again, that's probably going to be higher on the pecking order of the minutes, just being on the court. He's going to be in front of me because we had a bad defender in Jalen Brunson all in the backcourt. So we got to have a good one in Grimes, a good one in Dante DiVincenzo or something like that, right? So they have a little bit of a different skill set, more complementary skills and stuff like that. And Fournier nowadays is like going back to the day that he signed that contract. Is like, listen, back in that day, you guys wanted a shooter. I was a shooter. You paid me the money. So, I also decided on the Knicks because I knew that I'm going to have the opportunity to play. And now I don't have that chance because this and that, or if it's the coaching or if it's the tactics or the schemes. So let's just move on, trade me and stuff like that. And I think that's a fair approach from him as well.
So, without a doubt. Without a doubt. If I was him, I'd want to be out. I'd want to go someplace where I can play. You know what I mean? Because you're going to get your $18 million anyway.
Yeah.
No matter what, you're going to get your $18 million. So I'd rather play. You know what I mean? Knicks Are Nice said Tibbs ruined Kemba's career. Or let me ask you this, Knicks Are Nice. Was Kemba's career done when he came to the Knicks? Because
his knees were shot at least.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because if the Knicks ruined his career, why is it that when he went to another team, it's not like they pounded on his body. You know what I mean? I don't think the Knicks ruined his career. I think Kemba was done. The Knicks were his last stop. Every player, well, the Knicks weren't his last stop, but, for the most part, it was kind of, the last hurrah for him, and, he didn't get the hurrahs. You know what I mean? Every player is going to have that point in time when they hit a team, you have some expectations, and the team realizes, I think he's done. Kemba was done before he came to the Knicks, man. You know what I mean? He was done before he came to the Knicks. Maybe it didn't look good, but it was done before he came to the Knicks. Andy, best landing spot for Evan Fournier. And he was asked about playing with the Spurs. He said, I want a spot where I can have fun again, where I can be myself. Would their game be more suited to me? It's not the Spurs of 2014 anymore, but playing for Pop, learning from him, it would be a pleasure and an honor for sure. Afterward, being with Victor, looking at the upcoming Olympics, being able to start connecting on the court, that would be great. What's the best landing spot? Would the Spurs be the best landing spot or what?
Yeah, at this point, Sim, I think, yeah, this from what I think and see, I think that will be like one of those safe spots for him. Even if he, because we know that the Spurs have a really young roster. Tibbs likes to have a vet on the court with them. So there's a guy that keeps calm with all the young guys playing, rushing and stuff like that. Even if he would be coming off the bench, I think that wouldn't be a problem for him as far as he would be getting playing time and showcasing his skill set, right? Just going back to playing with Victor and bonding with him, a cool thing, but Wembayama is not going to be playing in the World Cup from what I heard. So it's not like, they're going to be practicing this week so they can play next week on the World Cup Team France. But like we said, he would envision that mentorship role for Victor, and that would prolong his career in the NBA with the Spurs, for example, right? Because he would be like that, father figure for him or something like that, right? So maybe he's just thinking about his future, more of, about his career on the court than just, riding it out to the sunset with this last contract. So listen, I think that's the thing that Fournier is maybe because of sitting and getting benched that time, he literally saw his career almost being ended, and that's why every other situation, then the Knicks is going to be a blessing for him, but a situation where definitely him playing alongside Wembayama is going to be a terrific situation as far as those advertisements for him, as far as being that mentor and stuff like that. If Victor Careers pans out, he's going to be mentioned that he played with Evan Fournier from season 1, right? It's not going to be because of Jeremy Sohan or Dougie McBuckets or anyone else, right? That was his Frenchman on his side and stuff like that, mentor and all the superlatives is going to be just for Evan. So I think the Spurs was probably the best situation for him.
Yeah. Tony, what's popping with you, man? Glad you was able to join the show.
What's good, son?
We're talking about the best situation for Evan Fournier right now, the best landing spot for Evan Fournier right now. What do you think?
I mean, I've been on the Spurs from the beginning. From the beginning, as soon as they got the number 1 pick. So I think that could work. Doug McDermott, like I said, the salaries are close enough that we could go ahead and swing that. So yeah, but I think he fits a lot of places. It's just a matter of his value and the what I mean? What are they sending back? You know what I mean? Like he's probably not better than a lot of players at that salary. So it's gonna be tough. The only other trade that I can really say is honestly the OG one, because I think that salary matches up. I feel like if you were going after OG anyway, you would have to add some draft capital anyway. So it's not necessarily adding the draft capital to move Fournier. It's really going after a guy you wanted to go after anyway.
Right.
So, Fournier and a pick or two or something like that. I think 2 picks, protected picks, whatever, is probably my ceiling. But if you could pull something off like that, I could see him kind of. Number one, I feel like he's motivated, so he's gonna be a better version of himself moving forward wherever he is. I think the problem moving forward here is he won't have the opportunity. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
But I think no matter where he goes, they're gonna get a better version of him than we've seen obviously the past year.
And Sim, if I can add a team that would be perfectly, as far as the schemes go, Golden State Warriors. He would flourish there, running, hitting those threes, just about the opportunities to get that amount of shots. I think he would be perfectly there. But I don't see, the Warriors going after him. So
yeah, especially right now with him. I mean, there would obviously have to be a trade in salary because they're so high, so much above the salary cap and into the luxury tax and all that stuff.
Here's the thing though. Again, if you're adding draft capital to Fournier and you're getting back a young potential guy with Kuminga, you know what I mean? That may be something, because Golden State is in a situation where even their young guys, they're probably not going to pay moving forward. They want to continue to get new young guys at low contracts.
Right.
So now, so that is a great situation where they could move him as an expiring. So that's the value there. They get some draft capital because now they get to get a young guy for the future on a low salary, and maybe we could get somebody like Kuminga, Moody, you know what I mean, and we're still building for the future. We got time for those guys, you know what I mean, and that's a wing that we could use.
Yeah, I
mean,
and
they just traded Jordan Poole, so if he could get his shots,
right. I mean, the thing is, with Golden State, there definitely has to be a salary match because
they're well above, and the Knicks are also going to be above.
Yeah,
so
it's got to be a salary match, and who knows if the Knicks are, it would have to be the right guy because the Knicks might be trying to either get off of Fournier's salary so that to make sure that they're not in the luxury tax at all. You know what I mean? Because right now the Knicks their payroll for 23-24 is $162.2 million. Right? So I forgot what the number is, but I think they're still below the luxury tax, and that includes Evan Fournier. That includes his salary. When you talk about the Golden State Warriors, they're at $206 million for this season. Right? They're paying the luxury tax, no doubt about it.
What are guys like Kuminga making?
Kuminga makes $6 million.
Rookie.
Moses Moody makes $3.9 million.
And what'd you say for Kuminga?
$6 million. Right. So
it would have to be like Wiggins, right?
Right. Wiggins makes 24.
I mean, I do that too. I don't know how willing they would be, but again, even if we add in, I don't want to have to move to add draft capital for a guy that we wouldn't pursue without that draft. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
So again, if it's Wiggins and we got to add some picks, I think that fits. It's a need.
But even
they save money.
Yeah, and then we would have to send something back, right? Because they're in a situation, and the Knicks might be in this situation too. You got to match dollar for dollar. Because of where they are salary cap wise. Let me get to a phone call real quick. All right, caller, you live. Name me where you're from, please.
How you doing, Jamal from Jersey?
Jamal, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
No, I'm pretty good, man. Just listening to this compelling Fournier conversation. I definitely have some opinions on that.
Yeah, go ahead. Let it go.
I mean, as far as him being disgruntled, I'm 100% riding with him and his perspective on how he feels he's been treated. And I feel like he only came out with this now because he wants to move on to try to get his career back on track. And all of the valid points as far as his playing like a defense and all that is valid. But I think the issue with Tibbs is not skill set, is more or less how he just treat guys in general once they're out of the circle of trust. I think Tibbs just cold shoulder and exile you forever pretty much. And players don't like that. I mean, the one perspective players have that we don't is players practice, right? These players could be playing well, outplaying other guys in practice, or like Fournier performed well in the game when he did get a chance. You still never see the floor again.
Right.
And one thing one thing fans could never debate is Obi played well and plenty enough games to garner more time, at least sometimes. It's a long season. And it just never happened. Right?
Yeah. I agree. It just never happened. Let me ask you this about Obi, just real quick. What do you and anyone else take from the fact that Indiana is looking to add another power forward, like Pascal Siakam?
A starting power forward. Get it right, sir.
Right. So they just traded for Obi, and now they're looking to add another power forward. What do you take from that? A starting power forward.
I know where you're going with it, but I happen to feel like it don't have nothing to do with Obi. I think Masai is just being crazy with his assets. He holding on to them. He keeping everything tight to the vest. He trying to act like he won't move guys, but he getting to a point where the league gonna know he's gonna have to do something. I think Pascal became available later in this process because of Masai asking prices, and this is universal around the league. And Obi was free, basically. They got him at a garage sale. Mm-hmm. So if you could bring somebody in that's clearly better, why would you care? You got him for 2 seconds. It was a freebie.
Right, but if you if Obi is this guy that everyone's like, oh man, he should have got more time, this and that, he could be putting up 18 and 8, which I believe he probably could. I don't know how good the team would be, but I believe he could put up 18 and 8. Why wouldn't they just say, we got Obi? We're gonna let Obi do his thing.
Right. I understand what you're saying, but if you could get Pascal, who's clearly better, who's an all-star, right? At the end of the day, you paid 2 second rounds for Obi. We the one who took the loss. He was our 8th pick, right? So the asset that they're bringing in is not at the value as what we bought it and lost out on, in my opinion.
I get that. I understand.
I'm saying, what do you think from Obi's perspective? Let's put it like that.
I'm quite sure they didn't let him know this, or he wouldn't have wanted. He wanted to clearly go somewhere where he wouldn't play, but that's the business of basketball. But I mean, it's not just Obi either. How many years has Tibbs been our coach, and how many player situations like this has it been? We knew Kemba Nee's situation before we tried to bring him in, right? Tibbs asked him early in the year, is he good to go on back-to-back? He says no. He's exiled. He brings Deuce in. Deuce plays well. Make one mistake early in the game at Toronto and never play again. You embarrass that kid. Like, there's multiple instances of this guy treating players this way.
I don't know. I mean, I just
how he can use. He sits down.
Yeah, I just think with Tibbs, I mean, like you said, if you're not in that circle of trust, you know what I mean. It's hard for you to crack it. And then once you carve out whatever your minutes are going to be, that's kind of what it is. Until something changes, you know what I mean? Like when I look at Cam, I mean, he goes to Portland, ends up, he went there and became a starter. He ended up going to the bench, then not playing. Now he's in LA, right? Portland, with a young squad, getting ready to trade Dame. They're not even bringing Cam back to say, you know what? He's a young guy that's 22, 23 years old. Let's see what he got. No, they're not.
And he fits the position of need because their young guys aren't at his position. So he had a prime opportunity there.
So, I mean, it's hard to argue. We're going to say it because we see it every night. And then we're going to say, fans are going to say, well, Tibbs ruined Cam. Tibbs ruined Obi if Obi don't go there and do whatever. You know what I mean? If Evan Fournier goes to another team and he's not playing, well, Tibbs ruined Evan Fournier. That's what people are going to say. Or instead of looking at it to say, well, maybe these guys weren't what we thought, and that's the reason why they didn't play here.
Or if Fournier goes somewhere and goes back to 17 a game, it's going to be, see?
Then it's going to be Tibbs should have played him. Yep.
Right. I'm not disagreeing with you guys' points. I'm saying they're valid points. All I'm saying is I think the issues that the players are having is more or less treatment. Everybody looking at it from what they're doing or not doing on the court. That happens on every team in the league. I think they don't like the way they're treated by Tom Thibodeau. And, like, we've been rumored linked to Buddy Hield for years. You think Obi won't have a conversation with Buddy Hield? You think Derrick Rose liked it and didn't want to leave NYC either because his family settled in, his son and all of that. But he wasn't going to stay for this. And that's his guy.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's hard. Now, if we're talking about communication, I can understand that, right? If we're talking about, hey, you know what? He's not communicating with me as to why I'm not playing, or, I come to the game one day and I'm just not playing. He doesn't even say anything. Like, I can get that. I think it was,
He does.
you remember back with Fizdale. I forgot who it was, but they were like, Fizdale didn't even tell me I'm not starting. This other, whoever it was, Obama's brother-in-law told me I'm not starting, or whoever it was. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think, if it's that, I get that. That communication should be there no matter what. Your head coach, Tom Thibodeau, should be communicating with the players. You know what I mean? But if it's just like, I'm not playing this guy, I have a spot for him, this is what I see this player's role is, and I'm sticking to that. I mean, every coach is going to have that, and I can't fault a coach for that because they're the ones that's got to live or die with it. You know what I mean?
Agreed. It's at the end of the day, his tail is on the line in a sense, but it's a players' league. I mean, when we hired him, I looked at his history with the Bulls. The players hated him. He didn't. Kyle Korver said he never had a conversation with Tibbs. Joe Kim didn't like him. I mean, pretty much nobody did except D Rose. So it's not like a thing that's happening when he got here. We know the Minnesota situation. All I'm saying is reason to believe that this guy's not doing things on the up and up with the guys on the team.
I don't know. All right. It could be. You know what I mean? I mean, I would say there's plenty of players that say, I love Tibbs.
I think you just got to be a Tibbs guy.
You just got to be a Tibbs guy. If you're not a Tibbs guy, then maybe he just straight up isolates you. You know what I'm saying? You the foster kid. No, get out of here. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, because obviously we can all see it that, when Tom Thibodeau, if you're not in that circle of trust, you're just not playing. You ain't. No matter what happens, you're not gonna see the court. You know what I mean? And it's probably tough for a lot of players.
Agreed.
Yeah. Jamal, appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
All right, later, fella.
All right, peace. I know it is probably tough, you know what I mean, for a lot of players, but, I think Tibbs is rigid that way. This is my rotation. This is the role that I see for you. And until I decide to change it, that's what it is. And players are a little bit different today.
I just wanted to add, we do have that trade exception. So we can take $6 million, a $6 million difference,
right,
more than what we send out,
right,
in a trade.
Yeah. People keep on, Tony, you brought it up earlier on how this doesn't look good for the whole thing about players not wanting to play for Tibbs. And I'm gonna keep coming back to this. And I know people say, oh, Sim, you just a Tibbs supporter. I am a Tibbs supporter. I ain't gonna back down from it. You know what I mean? I think he's done a good job here in New York. What else you want me to say about it? Mike D'Antoni was supposed to be the player's coach. Everybody loved to play for Mike D'Antoni. What happened when he came to New York? It ain't work. Nobody came to play for him. You know what I mean? Nobody came to play. He ended up being out of New York. Where'd he go after that? LA or someplace or whatever? Didn't have a relationship with guys there. I mean, what are you going to do? Nothing's ever going to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. We got Big Bubba on the line. Got a bunch of noise in the background. What's going on, man? What you on the train or something? Like, what's happening back there?
No, I had the AC. I got the AC on, man. It's kind of humid, man. I'm sorry, man.
All right.
I turned it on just for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You're messing up my show.
I'm sorry, man. Shout out to Andy. It's good to see you, brother. Shout out to Tony Cole Black and Time. You know what I'm saying? I was just listening. I know we were just talking about Tom Thibodeau.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Sim? Yeah, you know what I'm thinking, Sim? I'm kind of tired of these players, man. Like, cause I was just listening to you. You was like, you know, you talked about Mike D'Antoni. He's supposed to be a player coach. A lot of these player coaches, man. I mean, they're not winning. And you know, these quote unquote player coaches, man. They're just. I think a lot of these players, man, sometimes don't want to put the work in that Tom Thibodeau demands. I think that's what it is. Because these players that talk about they don't want to play for Tom Thibodeau, they haven't won. Like they haven't won. So my thing is Tom Thibodeau perfect? No. But I'm tired of these coaches that these players want. They don't work. I mean, Sam, look at Brooklyn. Look at Kevin Durant and Kyrie. They wanted Steve Nash. And then what, a year later they wanted him fired? 2 years later they wanted him fired? I mean, when these players pick these coaches, they just want them so that they can do what they want them to do. And then when it doesn't work, they try to get them fired.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'd rather front office pick a coach and be like, this is what I got. I mean, look at the Miami Heat. We talked about it during the whole series. People wanted Eric Spoelstra fired.
Yeah.
You know what Pat Riley said? No.
Right.
You're not going to fire him.
Right.
You know, so again, I don't really, to me, the players that want, like, you know, because I did see something about, you know, Embiid said he would come here, but he doesn't want to play for Tom Thibodeau.
Oh,
If that's the case, then
I didn't see that. No way.
Brother?
No, I'm saying I didn't see that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if the article was real or not, to be honest with you, Sam. I did see something that said that he would come to the Knicks if Tom Thibodeau. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. But let's say it is true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him. Because then we're going to bend to your will about a coach. And if we pick the coach you want and he doesn't work out, we gotta stick, you know, you want to get him fired after a year or two? No.
Yeah. I mean,
Who you referring to?
Joel Embiid. He's talking about Joel Embiid. I mean, it seems like, and it sounds like you got that on in the background. Isaiah, you got to turn that down in the background, brother.
I'll leave it on.
You don't have it on? Somebody has it on.
That's not me. I don't got the AI time to turn my AC off.
No, I'm talking about the video.
Oh, I don't got the video playing.
No. Well, anyway, you look at James Harden, Philadelphia, it seems like they moved on from Doc Rivers because of James Harden. Now James Harden, he wants to go to L.A.
Yeah, I think it's something wrong with him, son, to be honest. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of James Harden. I think he's a prima donna. And I mean, how many, son, I've never seen, he's one of the only superstars I've seen that have gotten, you know, Dwight Howard, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook, great teams. Whole offense is built around him. Got the coach he wanted. Got the coaches he wanted fired. I'm fired. I mean, he's gotten everything he's wanted. He still wants. He's never happy.
Yeah,
you can't win with a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying, it has to be you, Big Bubba, because I just muted Andy, and I still hear an echo, so it has to be coming from you.
So I don't know.
Yeah, this guy.
Is that better?
Messing up the show. Yes, that's much better. This guy, come on, messing up the show. Like, what is he trying to do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, why do you want to hear yourself or something? I mean, come on.
No, I'm not that conceited. I don't want to hear myself.
You must be trying to have a nice, relaxing show, and you come on here with all of this kind of stuff.
No, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Sheesh. Anyway, you know, I don't know about the whole Joel Embiid thing, but, you know, what are you going to do? Tom Thibodeau's the coach. I don't think players are, I don't know. 55, how many players in the league? Over 300 players in the league. 55 players,
about 300.
right? 55 players said that they don't want to play for Tom Thibodeau. Who are those players? They're probably players like Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. And Cam Reddish.
Obi Toppin.
Obi Toppin, right? There are probably 4 of them right there. And a whole bunch of other guys. You know what I'm saying? Frank Ntilikina. You know what I mean?
Knox.
Kevin Knox, yeah. All them dudes. Probably all them dudes.
You know what I noticed about all those players?
What's that?
Besides Frank Ntilikina, none of them play like a defense.
Yeah. Well, Cam Reddish.
Alfred Payton.
Cam Reddish played defense.
Andy, why do you do this, Andy? You know we can't go one show without saying Alfred Payton's name. You know this hasn't been a show yet. We haven't said Alfred Payton's name. Why do you do this, Andy?
Mindugas Kuzminskas.
Right. So, 55 players. Who are they? 400. Saul said 450 players in the league. Right. You know what I mean? Talk about 55 of them. So, I don't know. Anyway. Isaiah, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. I'll see you later, man.
Appreciate it. Now the show can get back on track. Thank you.
But first of all, the show just got better. You got the most views with this cause. I don't want to hear that, okay?
No, we actually went down like 30%. We went down 30%.
First of all, some of those are some bots. I don't know who they are, but
yeah.
But I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, peace. Speaking of Joel Embiid, though, he said on winning a championship, I just want to win a championship, whatever it takes. I don't know where that's going to be, whether it's in Philly or anywhere else. I just want to have a chance to accomplish that. I want to see what it feels like to win that first one, and then you can think about the next one. It's not easy, but it takes more than one or two or three guys. You got to have good people around you and myself, and every single day I work hard to be at that level so I can make it happen. So every single day I'm working towards that. Of course, people take from it that he said, I don't know where that's going to be, whether it's in Philly or anywhere else. That's what people take from it. I don't know if that exactly means he wants out of Philly, though, like people are saying. You know what I mean? I don't think that means he wants out of Philly. It's just saying, hey, whether it's here or someplace else, I want to win a championship. Maybe there is a message in there to Philly. You know what I mean? Get me the players. Get me some guys here so we can win. I don't know. Go ahead, Tony. What do you think?
I think it killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I think it puts a little bit of pressure on Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And it fits right along into his Joel Embiid. You know what I mean? Like, he knows it's going to get the response it's going to get. Who did the interview?
I forgot who. Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I look at that too. I think there's a little message in that too. You know what I mean? So I think no matter what, the Knicks are monitoring. I think it's not imminent right now. So it's right now it's really just for us to talk about and you know what I mean, get the clicks and get the ratings and everything else. But I think it's more than anything, it just puts a little bit more pressure on Philly to get, you know what I mean? Like, make a move, do something.
Right. Do you think the Knicks, if Joel Embiid becomes available, should the Knicks pursue Joel Embiid?
100%.
Andy?
100%.
I'm a little bit torn on Joel Embiid, and that's me saying it about the current league MVP.
Mm-hmm.
What we got to realize about Joel Embiid, he didn't win anything, like literally anything. He cried like a baby after he got knocked out of the playoffs. Do you guys think that he's built for New York like that? And that being said, I'm just going to add that he was playing with superstar players in his career, and he didn't get that win, right? Other thing is, the question is always the price. Because if we get him for example, Fournier, quickly, I don't know, Mitch, of course you got to do that trade, right? Even if you're gonna move him the next season or something like that, right? So that's a clearly a move you got to make. The rumors that the Knicks are interested and they're monitoring a situation of Joel Embiid. Listen, that's the front office's job. They should monitor like 1,000 players around the world,
right?
They're one of the top managements as far as basketball goes worldwide. So they should be having like I said, 1,000 players on the radar, right? And monitoring all of them. Listen, I know he's a great player and stuff like that. The question is, how is the rest of the lineup going to look after a trade like that? And like I said, I don't see him as that kind of a player as far as winning goes and as far as mental goes in New York. I'm not sure, but I might be wrong. And I'm not saying that he's definitely not, right? Because like we said, he has that troll in him. That's definitely going to help him with the, Knicks Twitter and stuff like that. But I don't know about that mental, in New York. You got to be a really, tough guy to play for the Knicks, because we see that a couple of bad games is going to get you on the bad side. And it's like with that, joke with your wife. You can say, I love you every day. You're going to say one bad thing and she's going to remember that one bad thing. So you got to remember, that. And that's the thing, like, with Knicks players. They have one bad game. The next 10 games, they got to be basically flawless to make it up. So it's a really hard place to play for.
Yeah. As far as me with Joel Embiid, I think if he becomes available, you probably have to. You know what I'm saying? You'd be crazy if you didn't.
There's no reason not to, because you can't not at least attempt to make the trade without saying something about a hypothetical but. You know what I mean? Like, or because who are you waiting for at that point? You talking about MVP? You talking about or former MVP? You talking about in the conversation for MVP? You talking about scoring champs? You talking about all this as a big man, still plays defense, stretch the floor. Like there's no reason to not do it.
But Tony,
unless you're scared, even the price doesn't matter, because no matter who it costs, the only thing I'm saying is whatever you want except Brunson, right? And at that point, it don't matter because you only matching salary. So whatever the cost is, you're not paying over the 50 million. You know what I mean? As far as the salary part, and then we got the draft capital, and there's restrictions on that as far as what you can give. So it's not like you could just give everything away anyway. So when it's certain people in this league, you don't talk about the price. You do what you gotta do to get him, and he's one of the 5.
But Tony, Tony, let's imagine a deal. Daryl Morey calls the Knicks front office and says, "Listen, if you give me Brunson, Randall, and like 4 fourth-round picks, you gonna do that deal?" I think that sets you back.
I'm not doing anything with Brunson.
So now Brunson, you're putting Brunson higher in the NBA ranks than Joel Embiid?
No, I want the combination of Brunson and Joel Embiid, and then I'm looking at that against how it stacks against the rest of the league. But anything else you whatever you want except for Brunson is on the table.
Listen, I would trade Brunson for several players in the league even, but Joel Embiid ain't one of them.
Again, I'm not saying trade Brunson for him. I'm saying anyone but Brunson.
Yeah, I understand.
You can have
but
anybody you want.
If I'm the 76ers, that's the first guy I want off the Knicks. I'm sending you my best player, and I'm not getting your best player back.
Yeah, but the first of all, That happens how many times in a trade?
But
You
yeah,
trade
but
the
you
best
don't.
player for the best player on the other team. That never happens. Or maybe once in the blue moon. So you not that's not how you negotiate, because that's not how trades go. You're not trading your best player for my best player, and that's how you make trades. You got to sacrifice. You may not be getting the best player. You may be getting 5 draft picks though. You might be getting 3 unprotected. You might be getting swaps. You know what I mean? You might be getting a young guy that you could start your kickstart your rebuild with. So again, uh, yeah, you got to do it, bro. You got to do it. And there's only a few players that you can put in that category, like a Giannis. Now, if I have the choice, I'm probably going with Giannis. But I'm not waiting for an opportunity for Giannis if the Joel opportunity is in front of me.
Yeah. Now, just looking at the lineups and who you would trade, because every trade you got to think about, okay, what does my team look like now? Who are you trading? Do you want to trade Julius Randle in this move? If this were to happen, this is all hypothetical, of course, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want to trade Julius Randle? Because if you got Joel Embiid and Julius Randle, while they can both help you spread the floor a little bit, is it too slow and clunky?
Seems like it.
Listen, I'm not opposed either way. Like if they insist on Randle, by all means.
I'm just thinking though, like if you're Leon Rose, are you saying, if we have Joel Embiid and Julius Randle, we're just going to be too slow and clunky? Are you thinking that, or are you thinking it can work? So we're going to try our best not to trade Julius Randle. I feel like it might be kind of slow and clunky. You know what I mean? But now you traded Obi.
Here's my thing, Sim. Even if I prefer to move Randle, and let's say Philly is saying, nah, I don't really want Randle, I'm fine with that.
Oh yeah. No. I'm not saying. I'm not saying
if it don't work with Randle, I gotta move him next.
No, I'm not saying that you're not fine with it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying,
like, my preference.
What is your preference? Right. Would you want to keep Randle with Joel Embiid? Would you want to move Randle? Like, how do you envision it working? That's what I'm saying.
I could see, me personally, I could see it working with Randle and Embiid, or at the very least, I wouldn't mind seeing it. You know what I mean? Because of what Embiid does. We've talked about it for years now. We haven't had that type of center, a guy that can stretch the floor and be dominant in the paint, a guy that doesn't lose. You don't lose defensively when he's on the floor per se. So I think it fits. I think it fits. So that's like, me personally, I feel like I have no preference as long as I'm keeping Brunson. I'd say the ball's in Philly's court. All right, what does it cost? Even if it costs RJ and Randle, I think I still do it, and then I try to continue to build off of those two pieces.
Yeah, I'm just looking at how how not whether or not you do it, just how are you trying to build the lineup and how does it look for you? You know what I'm saying?
I like it with Randle, Embiid, Brunson. I know there's I've heard a couple people talk about it. A lot of people don't particularly like it. I'll say this: I'm intrigued by it because I think it could be. I think it could be perfect. To be honest,
I think it would be slow. I think it could. I know Randle can play fast, but he hasn't played that up and down style of basketball in a long time. I think it could be slow.
I agree with you, but I don't think that would be. I don't think the Knicks or maybe Tibbs, whatever, we haven't really utilized the fast pace, you know what I mean, offense.
Yeah,
So it's not like it's changing the direction of what we're accustomed to. You know what I'm saying?
No,
it
I get it.
probably makes
I
us
get it.
a little bit
It gets
slower. Yeah,
slower. That's without a
but
doubt. You talk about pace.
all the other things that it opens up, we've never had before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We definitely be playing at a snail's pace, I think. You know what I mean? Who knows? Who knows how it would work? I personally think that they would be trying to keep Randall in tow. You know what I mean? And add him to Joel Embiid and Jalen Brunson. That's what I think they would be trying to do. Just looking at they have a center that can spread the floor. You got Julius Randle, at the power forward spot. You got a point guard in Jalen Brunson. And everyone would be able to shoot the three in that lineup, which would open the floor up. And I think they would look at it that way. So
let me ask you this: if we moved Randall in that trade and had RJ, would you move RJ directly to the 4, or would you keep him at that 2-3 slot and then be looking to find a new 4 immediately?
I'd be looking to find a new 4, someone like a Derek Jones. I think that's his name. Long, athletic.
Kyle Anderson, slow-mo Kyle Anderson.
No, not slow-mo. I'd be looking for someone that's like long and
Push the
quick.
pace.
You know what I mean? Quick, lanky, someone like that. I do want to give a shout out to Saul Hashim. He said, Tony in the panel, who are the 5 guys you're waiting for? I don't know if I have anyone that I'm waiting for personally, that I'm just home just waiting for this guy. You know what I mean?
No, I didn't say I would wait for 5. I'm saying there's 5 people that you pretty much, you trade whoever, you don't worry about the cost. There's 5 players in the league that you don't really worry about the cost. And
right.
It may not even be 5. Like, it's Giannis, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it takes, we go get him. Embiid, whatever it takes, go get him. If these guys are available, you're not trying to penny pitch or you know what I mean, say I'm not giving this guy up for that. Even if we had to give up Brunson for Embiid, it's not ideal for me, but I don't know if Brunson's gonna be an MVP of this league. I don't know if Brunson is a generational talent.
Yeah.
And this is no knock on Brunson.
No,
like, you know what I mean?
I dig it.
It's the first jersey I bought in 20 years.
Yeah. Still figuring out what he's going to be. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I got to head out of here because I got to get to practice by 7. I got 19 minutes to get there. I do want to say to you, I have a new channel that's covering a multitude of sports called Off the Clock Sports. And this is a little bit different than basically everything is in studio. All right. So we just, I got me, my partner, Mike, it's in studio. You know what I mean? We're just getting started. So the channel is growing. Every once in a while, we'll be bringing in, we'll be doing it like we're doing it here on MBK, but we're trying to keep everything in studio. People coming in live and talking. You know what I mean? So right now it's me and him, but we're getting it going. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right. Check us out. Rock with us through the growing pains, ladies and gentlemen. But it's a dope channel. And I'll be using this studio for NBK as well, for Knicks fans that's in the area to come in, different Knicks fans come in and talk about the Knicks and things like that. So, yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right, I got it pinned to the top of the YouTube chat right now. And I'm also putting it in the chat so you can subscribe to it. It's also in the description of the video. So I'm gonna get out of here so I can get to practice. All right. Anybody in the area, in the DC area, want to come through the studio, hit me up. And come in and let's do some content, man. We could talk Knicks or we could talk other sports. My email is right there. Andy, any last words before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm happy how the chat reacted that I said that there are players in the league that I would trade Brunson for. Keep that fire, guys, till next time we're going to be talking about trades.
Tony.
Nah, man, I'm glad I caught the tail end, and your Black is time. Shout out to the chat.
No doubt about it, man. Go subscribe to Off the Clock Sports, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time, and yeah, we out of here. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's Number one show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sob like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.